The fifth episode witnesses Hera and her son Jacen descend from her ship, the Ghost, onto the raised island where the previous week's fighting took place. As the mother-son duo looked around, Hera was alerted to someone's presence but was quickly reassured to learn it was just Huyang mourning the apparent deaths of Ahsoka and her Padawan, Sabine. As Hera and Carson Teva start looking for the women on the island, Jacen stands near the edge of the island and calls his mother to tell her about the whispers he's hearing from the ocean. Initially refuting the kid's comments, when Hera does listen intently, she can indeed hear the sound of lightsabers coming from the sea. She quickly instructs Teva to take their ships and start scanning the sea for any sign of Ahsoka or Sabine. Ahsoka opens her eyes and finds herself in the world between worlds. As soon as she wakes up, she is greeted as Snip, the name her master used to call her, and sure enough, she finds Anakin Darth Vader Skywalker standing right in front of her. Anakin challenges her to a duel because her training is apparently not complete, and he manages to goad her into fighting him with the simple reminder that she lost a battle. The Master and the Padawan battle with their lightsabers until Anakin slashes the ground beneath him, and Ahsoka falls into a memory of her past. She's now the child she was during the animated series, Clone Wars, and she witnesses so much death and destruction around her. With dying and critically injured stormtroopers and Mandalorians all around her, Ahsoka is disillusioned with war and the purpose of all that the two sides in the galaxy fight about. The siege of Mandalore plays out in front of her, and she starts wondering if their lives matter more than just being tools for fighting and winning wars. She watches the back of Anakin as he charges into the fight, with her master's shape morphing into that of Vader. As the fight continues, Ahsoka requests to be done with all this chaos, and her master attacks her, his eyes now reddish from the Sith power. What follows isn't a friendly duel between a master and his Padawan but between two opposing sides, as the Sith Vader charges blindly at the Jedi Ahsoka. However, the student of Anakin doesn't lose her mind in this situation and manages to place her lightsaber inches away from her master's throat as Vader's glowing eyes slowly recede into the blue of Anakin. The Padawan says it's her choice to continue living and not accept the fact that she died in the battle against Baylan Skoll in the previous episode. This brings her journey in the world between worlds to an end, and she's pushed out, which causes her limp body to descend into the dark waters around her. Thankfully, Jacen had alerted his mother to look closer to the surface of the water, and Hera spots the presence of life just as Ahsoka is thrown out of the world in between. Ahsoka's body is fished out by a crew member of Hera, and she spends one rotation recuperating from the impact. When she wakes up, she heads outside to find Hera trying to make sense of the map that Baylan had severed before leaving for Admiral Thrawn's location. Taking it in her hand, Ahsoka can sense the memories the map holds and understand that Sabine had gone with Baylan and Shin willingly because, in her mind, reuniting with and retrieving Ezra Bridger mattered more than anything else. However, with the only direction guide sliced in half, there was no way to chart the path that Morgan Elsbeth's Eye of Sion had taken. So how would Ahsoka rescue her Padawan? Meanwhile, the New Republic Senate demanded that Hera return along with Carson and all the other pilots she'd taken to rescue Ahsoka because it was an unauthorized mission. However, Carson was able to come up with a story that kept the Republic occupied for a bit as Ahsoka looked for a way to go after Sabine. All she had to do was look up, and she spotted the massive space whales, aka Purgils, floating through the sky. In an unconventional plan, Ahsoka and the others flew to the sky and started going in the opposite direction of the Purgils until they came across a rather massive example of their species. Ahsoka stood on the wing of her ship and used the Force to make the Purgil open its mouth so that Ahsoka's ship could safely nest inside as the whales warped into hyperspace. The Purgils have especially adapted creatures with the ability to jump into hyperspace, which is why Ahsoka chose one of these unique creatures. Even though the destination of the whales was unknown, at least they'd be going somewhere instead of being stranded in the forests of Cedos. With Hera and Carson wishing them luck, Ahsoka and Huyang hitched a ride inside the mouth of a Purgil into an unknown location, to be revealed in the next episode. The sixth episode opens with Ahsoka and Huyang comfortably sitting in their ship while a giant Purgil whale glides through space to take them to a new destiny. Ahsoka shares with Huyang something she'd kept secret while conversing with Hera. She says that in her vision, Ahsoka saw Sabine go off with Baylan willingly. She regrets that she didn't have enough time to train Sabine to be more decisive, but Huyang comforts her. On a happier note, he agrees to tell his co-passenger a story that any Star Wars fan will instantly recognize because it's the story of a galaxy, far, far away. Incidentally, this episode has the least amount of time dedicated to Ahsoka in the entire series, and the latter half of the episode is dominated by her Padawan. Inside Morgan Elsbeth's Eye of Sion, Baylan Skoll peers into the handcuffed Sabine Wren as she growls and complains that they had a deal. Baylan walks away to unite with Morgan, but he doesn't seem too keen to eliminate Sabine. As the Scion arrives at its destination, we get to see countless massive skeletons as Morgan provides the exposition that this is the planet of Peridea, where Purgils come to end their lives. Hence, we're made aware that this is where Ahsoka's ship is headed, as the giant space whale she's hitching a ride inside is traveling to Peridea. Before long, the Scion descends on the vast wasteland of a planet, and we're introduced to the Night Sisters, 3 witches in dark red garb who are furious that an uninvited Jedi named Sabine has been brought along. The witches use their magic to bind Sabine and throw her into a cell, as the others await the arrival of the Grand Admiral. In a brilliant show of strength, Grand Admiral Thrawn arrives with a massive fleet of night troopers, a seemingly more elite version of the regular stormtroopers. Thrawn is greeted by Morgan, but he too is dissatisfied to see Sabine in their midst. However, unlike Morgan, Thrawn decides to play along with Sabine's quest to find her long-lost friend Ezra and asks his captain, Enoch, to help her. The leader of the troop with a gold mask takes Sabine to a chamber, returns her weapons and rations, and also gives her a ride, called a howler. It's a large hyena-like creature that's capable of traveling long distances. However, Enoch warns Sabine of the raiders and the bandits that patrol the wasteland as Sabine takes off in search of Ezra. Meanwhile, Thrawn alerts Baylan and his apprentice to secretly pursue Sabine until she reunites with Ezra, and then to eliminate them both. Not long after beginning her journey, Sabine is surrounded by bandits in red garb, who seem closer to Heian-era samurais, and her ride flees in fear, leaving her to fend off for herself. After being pushed behind a rock, Sabine unleashes her lightsaber and quickly kills most of the bandits, while one runs away. Later, the Howler returns, but Sabine chastises it for abandoning her. However, being unable to refuse its puppy-like squeals, Sabine agrees to take the creature along, and it leads her to a strange-looking rock. Upon closer inspection, the rock pops up into a snail-like creature standing on 2 feet, and it's a Noti, a native of Peridea. What's more surprising about the creature, though, is the rebel sign that it wears on its body, and it also recognizes a similar mark on Sabine's shoulder guard. She requests the Noti to take her to the person who gave it the symbol, and soon, the entire area is filled with Natis, who were, until now, pretending to be rocks, and they're deep in discussion. When they finally arrive at a conclusion, they decide to take Sabine somewhere. Tracking Sabine's path, Baylan investigates the dead bandits and realizes they're on the right track. Shin asks him if he misses being a Jedi, and he agrees that he misses being a part of something, but not the weakness the Order brought. He then warns her that this planet is a land of ancient magic, and he doesn't plan on being trapped in her for long. However, his employer Morgan has been alerted by then that a ship is arriving on the planet inside a space whale, and upon learning of the same, Thrawn is displeased, but he doesn't recall who Ahsoka is. He demands to be made aware of every detail about her life now that she's proven to have survived a fatal blow from Baylan. This further pollutes Thrawn's mind against Baylan because he too belongs to the same Jedi Order that Ahsoka is a part of. He commands Morgan to destroy any oncoming space whale without mercy and then requests the Night Sisters to help him with their magic, and the sisters happily comply. Sabine arrives in the dwelling place of the Natis, and she's pleased to find the creatures living in a healthy, civilized manner. They've got food cooking in an oven, and they even offer her some, while a baby Noti peers at her curiously from a makeshift hammock. Sabine walks among the Natis that are going about their day, and she stands at the center, looking around, until she's greeted by the purpose of her journey, Ezra Bridger. Unlike conventional reunions, there's no sprint for hugs or teary-eyed gushing, it's just 2 friends or siblings meeting after a long time as if they'd barely been apart. Ezra is excited to leave for home and asks Sabine about how she finally made it to the planet of Peridea, but she's unable to divulge everything yet. But the way things are going, it seems that Ezra will find out for himself the troubles that Sabine has gone through to reunite with him. Sabine Wren finally meets her long-lost rebel partner, Ezra Bridger, on the planet Peridea, living among the native Natis. This hasn't been an easy journey, and she'd have to endure enormous hardships and hurdles to get to where she is. However, the troubles haven't ended yet, and Thrawn plans to eliminate both her and Ezra. He has even sent Baylan and his apprentice to finish the job. The question on everyone's minds right now is, will Baylan be able to bring himself to kill Sabine because, by now, we've realized he's not as cold-blooded and heartless as Thrawn or any usual Sith Lord. Therefore, Baylan's loyalty, which is already being questioned by Thrawn, might come under further suspicion if he hesitates to eliminate Sabine. But how his apprentice will take action against her master remains to be seen. In any case, the penultimate episode coming out next week will reveal what happens when Ahsoka arrives on the planet Peridea. Will she come face to face with Thrawn, or will Morgan's arsenal prove supreme? Thank you for joining us on this journey, and I hope you enjoyed the episodes of Ahsoka.